thank you for joining us. We have the honor of spending some time today to talk about the concerns of family members. I want to be clear that we're trying to do this in a good way. So we have an elder present. We have actually two elders present. We have family members present, and we have legal counsel present. We have the good fortune to be speaking to people both through a Zoom and a Facebook platform. I'm going to introduce the individuals who are present to participate actively in this social media event / press conference. And I want to begin by acknowledging the territory from which I speak to you on, Fort William First Nation, part of the Robinson Superior Treaty. I want to introduce at the table, and I'm hoping that ultimately you will hear directly from the people at the table, but I want to introduce Sam Achni-Pinescum, Beulah Wabas, Anna Betty Achni-Pinescum, joining us from Toronto by Zoom, representatives of Aboriginal Legal Services, Jonathan Rudin and Caitlin. And finally, Brad DeBungy is also with us. I would be wrong if I did not tell you why we're here today. And the only way to do that is to list the fallen Indigenous family members who are the focal point of today's discussion. Marie Spence, to whom Anna Betty is aunt, Aaron Loon, to whom Anna Betty is a great aunt, and Sam is a grandfather, Stacy DeBungy, Brad's brother, Sarah Munoz, Shania Bob, Curran Strong, Jethro Anderson, Christina Gliddy, Jordan Wabas, and Kyle Morriso. These 10 people were lost in circumstances that remain a question mark today. We're going to be speaking to the concerns that the family have about how the reinvestigations have unfolded, concerns about the deeply disturbing role that the chief of the Thunder Bay Police continues to play in reporting on the reinvestigations of these deaths. I'm going to ask Sam Achni-Pinescum, elder, to open us in a good way. Thank you, Sam.
I acknowledge all of you who are listening and who are here with us in this room today, and also on out there on video or wherever you may be watching. And I'm also thinking of the families of some of the young people that were mentioned, the ones who are not here physically with us today, but I know they are here with us in spirit. And it's very, very difficult to deal with those things, to live through it. I think the families have it's been a long process and a very, very painful process. But yet we don't have any answers to that will give us peace, I guess, in terms of understanding of what happened to our loved ones. A lot of you probably have watched on the news in the last few days about the discovery of many children in one of those schools, and they are families that never knew what happened to their children, and they never knew what happened to them. Here we know we have those same questions today, and we're still looking for answers, and we are unable to be provided with those answers, that we need to have that peace of mind, to know that we have done our best for our loved ones, to find out what happened to them. So I offer my thoughts and my prayers to all the families and to all of those siblings and other family members that are going through this. Time and time again, there's processes that are put in place, and hoping that we would find a place, we would find peace, we would find answers. But it always seems to be like there's an effort in place to make sure that we never know the answers. And I think that's somewhere, that's got to change. We have to know the truth. We have to face the truth a lot of times, how difficult it may be. And we know that. We see that across the country today, and all over the national news about those things that happen, where the church and the government deny, those things that happen in those schools, and they don't want to give records or acknowledge those things that happen. And it's very difficult for families. It's a very emotional time for our people. And I think that as we move forward today, I hope that we do find answers someday. Sige bug sinamay to go examine into so na may go kita go mswe. Mga kagwe kutstoyang ito ko chi makamangay ko nwe chinayan da bang ito ko anin we ga yu biswal kita na mayam nanik. Ila na ako na awa mswe ito ko kaya ko amigach shamanto amigach. Hey.
Miigwech, Sam, and I'm going to ask Beulah Wabas to say some opening words to start us in a good way. Beulah is Jordan's grandmother.
Hello, good afternoon. Good afternoon, everybody. I want to share some opening remarks. I'm really honored to be here, and I'm honored to reach as an elder. I'm 65 years old now, recently. And okay, I'll speak in my language for a while. Okay, ngo se cuentan nungum gendas bakosenem chmushkalifian tishabushkaman weka getuan nikech denenda. Thank you all. And I'm very honored to be here to represent as an elder. At the moment, my heart is heavy. And I pray to get through this heavy topic. No, also, I'm having my tears. These tears are all being shared for the ones that are all affected. Your tears are giving me strength. And I know it's hard going through life when we don't know what happened to our loved ones. But we all must continue to work together to help each other. Because I know God is looking at us right now. So miigwech, that's all I'm going to say for now.
Miigwech Beulah, grandmother to Jordan Labas. I'm going to ask that the 10 fallen family members be put back up on the screen share, please. It was directed that as a result of the December 2018 broken trust report by the Office of the Independent Police Review Director, it was directed that the 9 cases, excluding Stacy in this picture, be reinvestigated, and it was also directed that the Stacy DeBungy case be reinvestigated. We are 2.5 years later, and it has been publicly acknowledged that the reinvestigation team, the broken trust team, is due to release a report in relation to the 9 cases, not including Stacy DeBungy, imminently. It was with this news that, on behalf of the DeBungy family, our office wrote to the reinvestigation team, which consists of an executive governance committee, a resource committee, and a reinvestigation team. 3 levels of apparatus aimed at what's called these blended investigations. We wrote on May 19th, and we wrote because, as legal counsel for the DeBungy family, we have literally no idea of the mechanics of how these investigations operate. The information available publicly is scant, and we repeat the words opaque to describe these reinvestigations. That is, the families simply do not know specifically who is involved in the reinvestigations. And through correspondence that we are releasing publicly now, it is apparent that not only legal counsel for the family of Stacey Debungy doesn't know, but Aboriginal Legal Services through Caitlin Casper and Jonathan Rudin, who are here today, have also written letters expressing concerns about how opaque and shrouded in mystery these reinvestigations are. Anna Betty Achny Penescum, not only a family member for Marie Spence and Aaron Loon, but herself a respected politician and community activist, has also written, citing the right to know of families and the fact that today, as we speak, we do not know what role the chief of the Thunder Bay Police, Chief Sylvie Hauth, plays in these reinvestigations and the issuance of a report. I want to emphasize that our letter of May 19th goes unacknowledged 2 to 3 weeks later. We have asked a simple and clear question. Can you please confirm for us that the chief of the Thunder Bay Police Service and her lawyer are not playing a role in the issuance and content of the final report on these reinvestigations? Silence. Imagine, if you will, the commissioner of the RCMP, Commissioner Lackey, had a role in the issuance of the report into the murdered and missing Indigenous women and girls. It's utterly mind-boggling that we would have to have this kind of public plea for these families to get the kind of answers they deserve, free of conflict of interest and free of cover-up. I'm going to ask Anna Betty Achny Penescum to speak to these issues. Anna Betty? You can bring the screen share down. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. First of all, I want to acknowledge the prayer and ceremony that was shared with us this morning, and for those of you that are here, and for all of you that are joining. You know, it's as we think of our family members and other people who were also fighting for, I find it very disappointing that at this day and age that we have to continue to come to these extremes in order for us to get justice. So that each and every one of us as Indigenous people are treated fairly, with justice, and with respect. In the many years that I have been an activist and advocate and liaison, not only for Indigenous women and girls, but for our men and boys as well, you know, we continue to have to repeat the words that we're looking for justice, that we're looking for respect, and that we want to be treated with integrity. And that we not only when it comes to dealing with the Euro-Canadian court system, but with all sectors of life. The elder spoke about trust. And the report is called Broken Trust, because that's exactly what it is. There has never been trust there. And it is the responsibility, not only the Thunder Bay Police, but other city officials, that they be accountable to building that trust, and that they come and work with us. And that has to be all across this country as well. Our elder made reference to the Indian residential school and to those children that were uncovered in that mass grave. So how can you say that there is trust there when those things continue to happen? Right now, I want to acknowledge those families and other families who have faced some injustice, not only in this city, but other parts of Canada. And when we talk about trust, there must be transparency. And our families that are involved in the reinvestigation have not witnessed that. And that is so very important for us to have that. And to be that it has to be part of this investigation. And that when it comes to having a report on these deaths, once the final reinvestigation has taken place, you know, we keep hoping that there is going to be some answers, that there is going to be some sense of closure provided for the families. But at this point in time, we don't see that. So I thank you very much for being with us today. I am very grateful that there are many that continue to stand with us. And I wish I didn't have to be here today. And because it's, as a mother, it's very sad that we continue to have to stand before others, to wipe tears, and to say that we just want to be treated fairly and with respect. Chimingwich.
Thank you, Anna Betty. Aboriginal Legal Services represents a number of the families involved and has had a long history of advocacy, specifically in respect of accountability in respect of the deaths in Thunder Bay. I understand Caitlin Casper will be speaking. Thank you, Caitlin.
Good afternoon. Alongside Jonathan Rudin, we act as legal counsel for the families of Jethro Anderson, Jordan Wabas, and Kyle Morrisseau. Today, we are here to express our loss of confidence in the management of Project Broken Trust and grave concern for the legitimacy of any final report released by this project moving forward. We haven't come to this decision lightly. Multiple attempts have been made by our office to engage with the investigative team collaboratively on behalf of the First Nations families we represent to ensure their meaningful participation in this process. Ultimately, we decided to relay the serious issues we've had to the Executive Governance Committee overseeing the entirety of the Project Broken Trust. To date, we also have received no response or even acknowledgement of our correspondence. This is disrespectful to the families of Jethro, Jordan, and Kyle, to their communities, and to the public who have placed their faith in this project. Perhaps, though, we shouldn't be surprised. Even before the Broken Trust report from the OIPRD was released, our office represented the Wabas, Anderson, and Morrisseau families during the 7 First Nations Youth Inquest, where it was clear from the start that communication between Thunder Bay Police and the families of the First Nation students following their child's death was not coordinated, it was not clear, and it was not complete. Confirmation from the Broken Trust report that the initial investigations lacked quality and required reinvestigation was not surprising to the families, who said from the very beginning that much was left undone and unsaid. More should have happened right from the start. As such, Aboriginal Legal Services has continued advocacy for the families of the 7 First Nations youth over the last number of years. When Project Broken Trust was announced, we communicated the important nature of this relationship to the investigative team because this would be the 3rd reinvestigation experienced by the families and the 2nd that we would be present for with them. And while the Anderson, Wabas, and Morrisseau families were ready for answers with respect to the death of their children, a wariness about Thunder Bay Police remained. The failure of this police service to treat or protect their children or families equally and without discrimination does not disappear just because new faces in old uniforms appear. After careful consideration in the fall of 2019, each of the families agreed to participate in the reinvestigative process if the police agreed to provide Jonathan and I with advance notice of any substantive meetings or interviews to take place so that we could be there to support them either over the phone or in person as we had done during the inquest reinvestigation. This was objected to by the investigative team who desired full access to the families without interference. It required a firm reminder from our office through Jonathan that these families deserve all the support requested during this 3rd reinvestigative process, and that a part of reestablishing trust was to respect the choice of those you're interacting with and not to force a relationship with the police on them. This is how respect between people is developed and how histories are repaired. We were assured that Project Broken Trust would abide by the First Nations family wishes. It has been over a year since this commitment, and I can say with the utmost confidence that neither the families nor Aboriginal Legal Services have seen either truth or transparency or restored confidence of the public and affected communities and families through this project. Instead, we have been notified by the Anderson, Wabas, and Morrisseau families that police have continued to contact or attempt to contact them about the reinvestigation being almost complete. One family was interviewed without notice so that all their relatives could be present because the police happened to be in the fly-in community and requested one. This disallowed the family from any preparation and cannot be considered anywhere in the realm of meaningful participation. None of the other families we represent have been interviewed by the investigative team, despite comments in October 2019 from the Chief Coroner of Ontario, Dr. Heyer, that the cases would be investigated from oldest to newest and that families would be an important part of how the investigations move forward. I quote from the Chief Coroner, "Primarily at the start, we will be reaching out to the families to understand additional questions they may have, other areas they feel may not have been explored, and that will set the stage for what investigations need to occur." So how can this reinvestigation from Project Broken Trust be almost complete? It has had no meaningful participation by the Anderson, Wabass, and Morisseau families, which are 3 of the 10 deaths being reinvestigated. This is the crisis of trust that affects the relationship between Indigenous people and the Thunder Bay Police. It is nothing short of baffling that to Aboriginal Legal Services, how the creation of a 3-tiered, multi-agency, robust framework with so many apparent checks and balances has managed to once again be inadequate and ineffective to the police investigation and protection of the families of the First Nations youth who died in the Thunder Bay community. The inescapable conclusion as of today is that no lessons have been learned, and that all of the problems that beset the initial investigation of these deaths continues through to today. Miigwech.
Thank you, Caitlin. I want to give some context and some understanding to how deeply troubling recent events are in terms of the credibility of these purported reinvestigations. So firstly, I'm going to start by emphasizing that to this day, June 7th, 2021, Chief Sylvie Hauth has yet to advise as to her role in the issuance of the report in respect of the reinvestigation into these deaths. It is not acceptable that the chief of the Thunder Bay Police Service, a service directly implicated in sheer incompetence in devaluing the lives of Indigenous people, would have a controlling hand in the issuance of this report. But because the Broken Trust team refuses to confirm that she is recused from the process, the only inference to be drawn is that the chief of the Thunder Bay Police Service and her lawyer, Holly Walborn, remain involved in the content and issuance of this report. That is unacceptable and embarrassing. I'm going to ask, there are 2 aspects of this. One, the role of the chief of police in respect of the issuance of a report into the reinvestigations into these deaths. But more broadly speaking, I want to, on behalf of the Debungy family and everybody in this room, I want to address where the Thunder Bay Police Service is actually in June 2021. So if slide 3 can please be put on screen. This is the Broken Trust report, and I'm just citing some of the recommendations. Now I'm going to cite 4 recommendations under Broken Trust that were designed to reestablish trust in the Thunder Bay Police 2.5 years ago. Firstly, that a multidisciplinary investigation team be established to undertake the reinvestigation of 9 specific deaths based on OIPRD's investigation of 9 sudden deaths investigations, so problematic as to require reinvestigations. And we now know, in respect of recommendations 1 and 2, that Chief Hauths has a role in respect of the report on these deaths. The second investigation I'm going to bring to your attention, second recommendation I'm going to bring to your attention is that came from the Broken Trust report, is that a multidiscipline team should establish a protocol for determining if other sudden deaths need to be reinvestigated. Addressing the question, of course, whether these deaths are just the tip of the iceberg. It will create no surprise to anyone in this room. That has not been done. The fourth recommendation, a multidisciplinary investigation team should assess whether the death of Stacey DeBungy should be reinvestigated. As the lawyers for the DeBungy family, and Brad will be speaking to this shortly, we can tell you that it took years of battle for them to even recommence the reinvestigation, which just started in December. 4 years after the death of Stacey DeBungy. Were he not Indigenous? Were he not in the city of Thunder Bay? Under no circumstances would the Thunder Bay Chief of Police and her lawyer been able to, in essence, run the clock on the investigation into Stacey DeBungy's death. Number 5, that the Thunder Bay Police should initiate an external peer review process for at least 3 years following the release of the Broken Trust report. Again, not done. Next slide, please. And so when we use a grading system in respect of the Thunder Bay Police, broken trust becomes broken record. A failing grade by the Thunder Bay Police again in June 2021. As we pointed out, we know Chief of Police Hauths is involved in the issuance of this report. While their website claims independence, she declines to recuse herself. Her and her lawyer declined to recuse themselves from the process. So the issuance of this report, utterly creditless. Recommendation number 3, no protocol exists for determining whether other death investigations need to be recommenced. How many have been neglected? We don't know. They won't follow recommendation 3. Number 4, we've explained it took years to recommence the investigation into the death of Stacey DeBungy. And now we ask, why did it take years? Why is the death of Stacey DeBungy not part of the report? And what new information is sitting out there? What is being hidden? Number 5, no external review process after 2.5 years. Next slide, please. The recent sentencing reasons of Justice Helen Pearce of the Ontario Superior Court in relation to the Bushby case that was decided literally yesterday. She states in her reasons for sentence, the ripples from your actions continued beyond the city. Your actions have signaled to Indigenous people across Canada they cannot expect to be safe and that their lives are not valued. That's what happened when you threw that trailer hitch. Next slide, please. Justice Pierce cited the fact, and it's at paragraph 35. The joint statement concludes, a joint statement of the Indigenous Bar Association, the National Association of Friendship Centers, concludes that these incidents are made worse by the lack of police response. You can stop the PowerPoint, thank you. I want to emphasize that we are now 2.5 years beyond the Broken Trust Report. What I am about to say, that the Thunder Bay Police Service continues to devalue, delegitimize Indigenous lives in this city, is no longer about broken trust. It is a broken record. There can be no doubt that the Thunder Bay Police Service were given a chance to do better. There is not one single Indigenous leader in this city that you hear from today or publicly that will tell you that the Thunder Bay Police Service has truly reformed, and that's because they have not. Now, all things must come to an end, and this service is one of them. The reality of the Thunder Bay Police Service is they are precisely the police service that those in power in the city of Thunder Bay want. And they won't change because those in power in the city of Thunder Bay don't want them to change. Indigenous people will remain in danger, in jeopardy, as long as the Thunder Bay Police are responsible for protecting their safety. We must bring this to an end. Another police service accountable beyond the borders of Thunder Bay, beyond a power structure for whom Indigenous people are an inconvenience, is a necessity. The time has come to bring this horrible experiment to an end. There can be no other option seriously on the table. When the Thunder Bay Police Board had a chance to bring in outside leadership, when a survey of the city told them to bring in outside leadership, they declined. Chief Hauths refuses to recuse herself from the issuance of this report. They refuse to audit other deaths. All of it spells only one result. This service needs to be shut down and a service accountable beyond the borders of Thunder Bay brought in. I'm going to ask Beulah, grandmother to Jordan, to speak. Beulah?
Miigwech. I'm from OIPRD First Nation. I forgot to mention when I did my opening remarks. Ishnikazuan, my spirit name, Kinagwanse, Migonikwe, Mingazedu them. Twirling fed woman, it's my spirit near. The eagles, my clan. So what I'm going to say is, I'm just going to talk from my heart about my feelings. It was on February 7, 2010, and my grandson never made it home that night. He was going home. And on the next day, February 8th, that's when I found out that he never made it home, that he was missing. So a lot of things went on my mind that time. To make the story short, I'm still want to know some answers. My daughter and her family, in our community of Webekwe, we are all still waiting. I know they keep saying not to talk about the past, but we still have to talk about the past because this matter is not known. And, like the project they doing called Broken Trust. The name says it all. The name says it all. To this day, we are still wanting justice for my grandson. As I want to know what really happened, so I can tell my other grandsons, because as a grandmother, it is our duty to tell our grandkids what happened, especially when they die. When my grandson's birthday is coming up later on this month, on the 27th. And it's been over 10 years now that he had left us so suddenly. And one other thing I wanted to share was a few years ago, I also was asked to come here to Tannerville. It was Wasea Airways that got me here. And before I got here, I heard sad news that there was a suicide with the youth. And again, now on Sunday, I also heard there was a suicide here again, a young person. And I've been thinking about those tragedies. All of them are suicides. And I know it's a sign from God that He's still giving me strength to face this hardship, what I'm going through with my family and community. and every one of us. And also, I'm also a residential school survivor. I went to 3 places, 7 years altogether. I went to residential school. And we all heard about recently the mass findings of those children that went to residential school in BC years ago. It all affected us nationwide. And again, I thought about that, and I think it is a sign. It's a sign given to us all, especially with these reinvestigation with these youths and adults. We still have to dig up more information. We just want to find out what really happened here on this face of Earth. And also what we just heard from that person, I forgot his name. Too much on my mind at once. We still don't know. I know that first youth that went missing was in the year of 2000. Today is the year 2021. And the family still don't know what really happened. I also requested to be contacted with any evidence that happened with my grandson, but I never did. I only got a copy of that letter from the Grand Chief in the fall of 2020. We live in a modernized world now. There is such a thing as a telephone conference, video conference, emails, or even a telephone call. And one time back home, the NAPS officer came to my office saying that Thunder Bay Police was trying to get hold of me, so I gave him my number, but I never got a call from them. And the NAPS officer told me it had to do that reinvestigation. So there's no way that information can be passed on to a family member. And also Jordan is my first grandson. He came out here to Thunder Bay to further his education and his dreams. he was at that age. He was curious because he was in his adolescent years. He was already into girls. And alcohol and drugs, just like any other adolescents now. So to this day, it is still a mystery. And I would like some answers too, just like anybody else. Doesn't matter who it is, what happened. Those unexpected deaths, sudden deaths. I know some of Jordan's friends have passed on, some of them through suicide, accidents, and in health. Took a long time to finally accept my grandson's death. And I'm still on my healing journey. And I will never forget what happened. Also, I wanted to say was if any people other than Anishinaabe, if you went up to any reserve in the north, if your child got into an accident, I'm sure you would know what to do. Like what we are facing now. We want to know. So when I first got here, when I was sitting out in the hallway, my tears started coming. I know tears are healing. And also with this reinvestigation, keep on to be ongoing, even though we're in a pandemic world, but that doesn't have to stop us. There are ways to communicate with each other. So talking right now is giving me strength while I hold this feather. It's an eagle feather. Also, I wear my orange t-shirt. And we know it says every child matters, not only with the residential school, what happened. Even as adults, we are still a child. So we all matter, no matter where we are from. I know they said this reinvestigation is going to be done soon. So whatever the outcome, if it's still, they still said Jordan's death was an accident due to drowning, I'm still not going to accept that. There's more to that. That's what I heard, especially with these youths, what happened here in Thunder Bay, the ones that were found in the river because of that drowning. But we know there is more to that. That's why, as I say, as grandmother of my first grandchild, Jordan Wabas, there is more to his death on what happened. We can't just let it go and be forgotten that the case was closed. And even with this reinvestigation, maybe it will still be reinvestigated, but I'm not going to give up. I'm not going to give up as long as I'm still living. To get justice for our youths. Because we haven't forgotten, even when the police says the file is closed and that they want to forget it. So right now, my heart is still heavy. And that this investigation should still be ongoing. That the other thing I wanted to share was that year when I lost my grandson, and after the funeral back home, and a few weeks later, I left home. I wanted to come out and search for answers. I thought it was going to be easy, but it wasn't easy. And still, 10 years later, I'm still wanting answers. I may have not said what all I wanted to say. So I'm very honored that I'm still here today, and everybody else that's here. I know we all know, we all want answers and justice to be done to everyone. And proper investigations to be done right away. And I also recently I retired from my job. And most of my career was working with children and youths. Because after my residential school, I didn't want to see the children go what we went through. Lots of stories are heard, shared from the residential school survivors. And I know some people are walking. They're going to walk to Ottawa. And we need to teach our present youths about the cycle of life and death. And also about justice for everyone. Because we are all equal, no matter who we are or where we come from. The one thing we have all in common is we have the same color of blood. We have the same color of blood and tears. At first, I thought I wasn't going to be able to come up here and talk. But I guess I was wrong. I know a lot of people are thinking of what's happening here and what I'm going through. So that's what's giving me the strength and also the tears that I had and the heaviness in my chest earlier. That's what's giving me the strength to go on. And right now my chest doesn't feel heavy. My heart doesn't feel heavy. So I hope I'll get some answers before it's shared to the public, because I know it's going to be shared to the public once this reinvestigation is complete. At one time, I wanted to ask to dig up my grandson again. But I just let that slip by. I know bones tell a story. And throughout my healing journey, there are people that remind me of my grandson, Jordan. Because his spirit still lives. And I know he's in a good place now. But here on earth, we are all still suffering. And our healing journey goes on to our last dying breath. And also, what I was thinking of was asking for help with all Anishinaabe people across Canada. Because we have our ways to know to. I believe in dreams. I had dreams about my grandson. And, all I want to say is as a grandmother, I'm also a great grandmother. That we all start to have proper justice for our children, our people, no matter who we are. Because I know when we die, our souls still going to be alive, and we still be going to court. Like what it says in the Bible. We will come face to face with God, just like what we do here on earth when we face the judge. So living or death, we still all be getting justice. So if anybody still wants to come forward, that knows what happened, to my grandson, Jordan. We are still waiting. We just want to know. And I know to this date, at this present time, there are still some people looking for their missing loved ones. Especially when I hear about the missing persons here in Thunder Bay, a youth. It triggers me what I went through. So I think that's all I'm going to say for now. I could have said more. Miigwech.
Miigwech, Beulah, Baba's grandmother to Jordan. If I could ask Brad DeBungy to speak about his brother Stacy. Brad?
I'd just like to say, I feel for you, Beulah. Heartfelt sympathies. I'm overwhelmed that this has been going on. For almost 6 years. Come to my attention that TBPS, Chief of Police, is not being trustworthy in her actions. Oh, she spoke to me before when the OIPRD report came out that she'd be honest and open with me. If I had any questions that she could answer, but I haven't heard anything back. In the last year or so on any direction that they are taking. And they want to be treated fair and just. So what about Stacy? Did they treat him fair and just? Boy, that's chilly. October day, 2015. They need to follow protocol and be held accountable. There has been some historic gain in precedent on some police service matters, police act, but not on protocol. We have come so far. It's like take 2 steps forward, 3 steps back. Change has to be acknowledged today. Yeah, it's almost 3 years since the OIPRD report came out. Since for their recommendations that, and they haven't seemed to follow any of those. It's like they're playing a game. It's hard to plead all the time when you have to plead and you get no answers, like what they're gonna do, how they're gonna handle. How to handle things properly. So how are you supposed to trust a system like that? I'd just like to thank the people that have been working on this matter diligently. Thanks for your That's all I have to say for now. Thank you.
Thank you, Brad. If I could ask Natalie to put up a picture of the fallen family members, please. Marie Spence died on April 30th, 2016. Aaron Loon on March 25th, 2015. Stacy DeBungy on October 19th, 2015. Sarah Munoz on March 21st, 2017. Shania Bob on February 5th, 2014. Curran Strawn in 2005. Jethro Anderson in 2000. Christina Gliddy, March 29th, 2016. Jordan Wabas, May 10th, 2011. And Kyle Morriso, November 10th, 2009. When one looks to the date of Jethro's death 21 years ago, through 2005 for Curran, 2009 for Kyle, 2011 for Jordan, and on. Over 20 years. And in all of this, Chief Sylvie Hauth cannot answer a simple question. Will you finally get out of the way? Will you, Chief Sylvie Hauth, and your lawyer recuse yourselves from the preparation and public release of the reinvestigation report? Will you give these families some comfort after so many years? It is a simple question, and it deserves a simple answer. The only answer, an honest, credible investigation could expect. Your complete and total recusal, you and your lawyers. Another simple question. Will the Thunder Bay Police finally institute Recommendation 3, a protocol aimed at determining whether other sudden deaths need to be reinvestigated? 2.5 years later, will you do it? Will you tell us whether these total and incompetent examples of neglect of duty are just a tip of the iceberg? Will you allow the truth to be told? Simple question. It deserves a simple answer. Institute the protocol. We thank everyone who has been with us for these past 2 hours. I'm going to ask Anna Betty Achny Penescum to help us close in a good way, if you could, Anna Betty.
Chimigwach. Memango sat sokan the square in the castle. You can see no them. As I see on the screen of these young people who are not with us anymore, and that we owe it to them to look for justice. And we will continue to seek justice for them and to ensure that we change the systems. The system that does not treat us fairly. That is what needs to happen, and we require transparency and accountability for that. Memango sat sokan square in the castle. Because in Damanuma Gaya, Kinana Mishnam, Egodoshkioma, Kagimacha, Kawinche, Bukusendeman, Chibiwichushanam, that your Creator stand with us to keep us strong, and that we maintain respect for everyone that is here, and to bring the others into our circle to create that change. English.